Welcome to my Appalachian Life. It's been a really busy week this week. The wind has finally settled down as of yesterday where we could get outside, and I think we worked ourselves to death trying to get caught up, and we still have more to do. But before I go out today, I wanted to make this apple butter banana bread. I have a banana that is past its prime, and before it actually goes bad, I thought I'd make up a half batch of this apple butter banana bread. It's our favorite banana bread recipe, so I hope you all enjoy it. So to make it, I have to calculate these measurements to make sure I don't mess up because I'm making a half recipe. You start with it says a half a cup of butter softened, so I used 1/4 cup, which is 2 tablespoons that I have in here. And then you add a cup of sugar, so that would be a half a cup, and I'm using brown sugar, so I'm going to put a half a cup of brown sugar in here, and I'm going to stir the butter and sugar together. Get the lumps out of the brown sugar. This takes no time to throw together, so I thought before I get busy and get too tired this evening, I'd go ahead and fix it. Do y'all do that? You start working and you get so tired you just can't do anything else. So yesterday, I weeded out the strawberry patch, and I planted my sweet potato slips in another grow bag, and helped Joe with some weed eating. And I fixed an area out in front of our deck and planted some wildflowers and some more sunflowers there. Okay, I think that's pretty well mixed. So the brown sugar and the butter. Now for the eggs. And it calls for 2 eggs, so I have 1 egg beaten here that I'm going to add to that. Mix this up. Yeah, I stopped about 6 o'clock last night from working outside. And I have thawed out some hamburger patties to put on the grill, so that's what we have for supper with some peppers and onions. And I ate mine without the bun, and Joe ate his. I'm trying to get back onto my low-carb diet. Of course, Joe isn't on a low-carb diet, and he doesn't have to watch his carbs or his calories. He really needs to gain weight. Since he had his fall, a little over 2 years ago, he lost so much weight, and he's just not gained it back. And I guess after you lose that much and your appetite changes, it doesn't take as much to fill you up. But anyway, he'll eat this banana bread. Okay, got the eggs mixed up with the sugar and butter. Now I'm going to add the banana. And here's the banana that's overripe a little bit, so I'm just going to pinch it off and put in here and mash it up. I'll leave my fork out here in case I needed that. It's a little too firm to mash with the spoon, so I'll use this fork. This is a pastry fork with the big wide tongs on it, and it works perfect for mashing up the banana in here. I have the oven preheated to 350 degrees. Okay, that's good, mashed up, mixed together. Now, I'm going to add the flour, which it calls for 2 cups of all-purpose flour, so I'll add 1 cup. And this is a ½ cup measuring cup, so I'll use 2 of those. And it calls for 1 teaspoon of soda, so I put a ½ teaspoon in here. And it also calls for a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon, so I used a 1/4 teaspoon of that. So I'll go ahead and put the flour and baking soda in here. I just realized I put the cinnamon in there with the baking soda, but the recipe says to add it to the apple butter. But it's all going to be blended up anyway, but I may add a little bit more to the apple butter. But we'll stir this batter up. And it also calls for a ½ teaspoon, no, 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. So I have a 1/4 cup of chopped pecans here that I'll add in. It's been a while since I made this banana bread, so I'm having to watch the recipe closely. You know, when you get familiar with the recipe, sometimes you just don't even look, you just make it, and then you realize you forgot an ingredient. Okay, got that batter up. Now, mix the apple butter and cinnamon and vanilla together and spread over the mixture. So I'm going to put half of the mixture in the pan. So since I'm doing a half recipe, I'm using these 2 little mini loaves. I got these. These were my mother's, and when she passed away, I couldn't part with them, so I kept them. So I'm going to make 2 little mini loaves. So what I do is put half of the mixture in the bottom of the pan. And I'm thinking just one's going to do it. Two big spoonfuls on the bottom, and then I'll have 2 big spoonfuls for the top. A little bit more in there. Okay, now for the apple butter, it calls for a ½ cup, so I'm going to use 1/4 cup. This is apple butter that I made last year in the crock pot. Sprinkle just a little bit of cinnamon in there. And it calls for a ½ teaspoon of vanilla. So that will be a 1/4 teaspoon. Can get that lid off right now, but anyway, I'll mix this up. And we're going to put this apple butter mixture on top of the batter. And just spread it around. Okay. And then I will put the rest of the batter on top. You know, I'm thinking about my garden. I had bought a 50-pound bag of Kennebec potatoes to plant, and I just didn't realize how many potatoes that was. So we got 2 long rows planted, and that only used up half of them. So we may try to get the rest of those planted today. And I've never seen, or I never have canned potatoes before, but I have seen recipes for it on the internet. So I probably will be canning potatoes this year. Okay, if you like, you can sprinkle more pecans on top, but we're going to bake this in the oven at 350 degrees for 60 minutes. That's for a whole loaf pan. So I'm going to do 30 minutes on this, and I'll just check it from there and see how it goes. Okay, it just came out of the oven, and I had to bake it 50 minutes for this half loaf. So it smells delicious, and I'm sure Joe is going to enjoy it, especially for breakfast in the morning. But if you get a chance, next time you make banana bread, try the apple butter banana bread. You get that layer of apple butter in between the layers, and it just makes it so good. So Joe is outside working and waiting on me to come out. So we'll see what we get into this afternoon. And it's digging yesterday, and my back feels it. So I don't know if we'll get the potatoes planted today or not, but we'll see what we get into. All right, Joe has found 2 limbs out of a tree. Well, it was 1 limb, and he sawed it in half to make 2, and they're both a little over 6 feet, maybe 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And we're going to try the electroculture in our garden this year. So we're going to make 2 copper antennas with these 2 6-foot poles, 1 in each adjacent corner of each of the garden this year. And if any of you've tried electroculture in the garden, let me know what your results are. But I've been reading a lot of good things about it, so I'm anxious to try. Supposedly you don't have to use commercial fertilizers, and you'll get higher yields, and the food will taste better. So
it'll taste even better if you'll go ahead and eat it.
Well, we got to grow it first. So anyway, we're going to try it out. And like I said, if you've tried it, let us know and what your results were. We'd appreciate it.
way back to San Antonio. Morning, folks. I just got out of the oven, and fresh on our minds is this pound cake.
It's apple butter,
Apple
banana
butter, banana bread, and anything else you can find to throw in there on it. And it's good. It's good for you too. So I appreciate you so much. Everybody have a good day. And we'll be seeing you at the roundup.
So I got these plants at Crouch's Greenhouse. It's a local family-owned nursery. They grow their own plants, and I like getting my garden plants from them. So for the tomatoes, I got the Park Swapper. Some people like the Celebrity for canning, but I prefer the Park Swapper. And I'm trying to get that to focus. I've got the beefsteak tomatoes and Juliet's. They are a large grape-like tomato, and they are so sweet. And thank you, Ted Douglas, for introducing me to those. I love them. And I got a new variety. They didn't have the yellow German, but they had this Carolina Gold, and I've never had those before. So we'll see how they turn out. And then I've got the Big Bertha sweet pepper and the hot banana peppers. I got zucchini, some straight 8 cucumbers, some yellow squash, and some pickling cucumbers. The sky is getting pretty dark today, so I think we're going to get some rain later. And there's my sweet Skipper girl. Feels good today, doesn't it, Skipper? No hot sun beaming down on you, but the flies are aggravating you, I can tell. I can tell. You're going to come say hi? Good girl. Good girl. Yeah, you're a good one. I used to show Skipper back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And all the kids loved her. They'd run up and want to pet her and say, she's the prettiest horse I've ever seen. She cleans up really good when she gets her winter coat shed off of her and bathed, and the mane is just glistening blonde in the wind. Up there's Nico. They're happy campers today. Nico's rolling. There he is. Yep, the sky's getting darker. All to our west, north and west. To get down south, and it lightens up some. Well, it's Monday evening, May 8th, and I've been out working in the garden again. The sun's about to go down, and Joe has gone to his men's prayer group that he has once a month, and he always has to make the cornbread. Everybody wants his cornbread. So I'm just taking a break. While he's been gone, I've got all the tomatoes planted, and I've put down another row of the weed barrier. I don't know if you can see the garden behind me and the 2 rows of weed barrier. So I'm about spent after that, so I'm going to quit and go in and clean up. Have me a glass of water kefir, ginger, lemon to be a refreshing, healthy drink to cool down. But first I've got to get the horses out of the pasture and put everybody up for the night. So I'll talk with y'all later. Let's go. It's supper time. Come on. Good girl. Come on. Come on. Nico's already in. So here is the branch that we're going to put in the garden, wrapped in 12 gauge copper wire. I started at the bottom and wound it counterclockwise and left a little tail at the end to go into the ground. So this is wrapped counterclockwise all the way up. And I finished it off at the top with a little spiral on top. So this is May 10, and we've got the garden completely planted. 4 rows of potatoes, a row of tomatoes, a row of peppers and cucumbers, a row of rattlesnake beans, and I've got zucchini and yellow squash planted here on this end, and on the other end I planted some bush gourd seed. So that's our garden for 2023. And after I finished that up, then Joe and I mowed everything up and just finished with that. I'm thankful for my little riding mower. Just got the horses in for the night. Mercy, come on. We got to get you in. Everybody else is here. Hi, Nico. I saw you coming through the stall. Now, where did you go? Mercy. We got her in last night. She's perched up here like a queen that she is. Hey, Mercy. It's going to be a pretty day. You going to go hunting? You going to go hunting? There she goes. Well, this is my grandmother's old grapevine. And my brother has had it for several years, and he dug it up last spring and brought it to me, and we planted it here. And he assures me that it will sprout again. But to me, it's not looking too good. His has already started sprouting, but this one is doing nothing. And I kept it well watered the first year, so this is the
full first year it's been planted here. So I've been reading about electroculture, and I'm going to try it on this grapevine to see if it will jumpstart it and it will start sprouting again. So what I have done is I found this rod in the garage, and Joe said it came out of a frost-proof or freeze-proof spigot that we used outside that he replaced, and he kept the rod. And it's magnetized. If you put a magnet to it, it holds. And I started at the bottom of this rod and wound the copper 12-gauge copper wire counterclockwise up this pole. And then I found this wire in the garage. I think it's just picture hanger wire, but the magnet holds to it too. The magnet does not hold to the copper. So you've got the magnets with the copper, and from what I've seen on the internet, you put a little spiral at the top and use these little wires for antennas to harvest the energy in the atmosphere. And you place this on the south side of the plant, which this is the south side that I'm looking at the plant. I'm looking at it. I'm standing on the south side. And Joe is trying to dig a hole to plant this rod. And he started with one with the screw on the bottom, and it's not going deep enough, and he's not pleased with that, so he's coming with the post hole diggers now. And there he is.
There I am.
He's going to make it work. Okay, we got it planted. So it'll be interesting to see if it works. I hope it stimulates the growth of that vine. I'll give you a closer look. How tall is this pole now? About 4 feet?
4.
And with the antennas I put on it, it's probably about the same height as the grapevine. It's a neat tool Joe came up with. What did you use that for?
To look for a water line leak or something like that.
Oh, and it just drills a little hole in the ground?
Yep. Well, it's about an inch. About an inch or an inch and a quarter.
In diameter?
Yeah.
We are getting ready to insert the second electroculture antenna I made today. And this is an experiment for me. I've just been seeing a lot about it on the internet. So I give this disclaimer. Do not do what I do. I do not know what I'm doing. I do not know enough about it to advise anyone. This is just what we're doing as an experiment. So do your own research on electroculture. And make sure you're listening to the people that know what they're talking about. There's a lot of people on YouTube that's doing experiments like I am, using different materials. So the first one that I did, that I put in the garden, I used a branch from a tree that Joe found. And we put it on this south corner of the garden. And I wrapped this 6-foot branch with 12 gauge copper wire. And I found some picture hanger wire that I made little antennas and the spiral with the copper wire at the top. And then the second one I made, I found this metal pole in the barn, and Joe said it was a lightning rod. It's magnetized. So I just wrapped the copper wire around it, used the picture hanger wire to make the antenna, and a coil at the top to receive the electro currents from the atmosphere, and it sends it down into the soil and is supposed to help your garden grow better and eliminate pests and diseases and increase your harvest. So we'll see how the garden does with it this year. And if you're in the south, you're supposed to place the antenna on the south side of your garden or the south side of your plants. Did you hit rock?
Yeah, there's some rock in it. Brought the dirt out with it.
I've got squash and zucchini planted right along in that area, so he's trying to be careful not to step on it.
Okay, how much you want?
I think that ought to be fine. It looks like it's about a foot, isn't it?
Yeah, a foot and a half.
Yeah, that should be plenty deep enough. We'll stop and pack it in.
Well, I had this pane here for the next 2 feet. That's it.
Oh, is it? You're smart to mark the distance on the pole.
Right.
Okay. Let's plant it. All right, it's planted.
Best I ever saw. Best I ever did see.
This is going to be an interesting experiment this year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
All right. Let's get the horses in.
Okay. Outstanding.